remind me of the babe. Remind me of the babe with the power. What power? The power of voodoo, hoodoo, you remind me of the babe.
Dude, this is a connection in more ways than one to Top Gun.
Okay.
That Jennifer Connelly is in.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's in it. She's playing the same character that she plays in Maverick.
The opening song is the Top Gun. One of these two. This is 86. Top Gun's 86. The opening jam definitely has that.
Yeah, you're right. And we got some like early CGI. So yeah, we're watching Labyrinth. Talking about Labyrinth, early CGI. And like, David Bowie was so excited to be part of this.
Oh yeah.
And brought in probably as like a collaborator. Came up with basically like almost like an album's worth of songs for this.
Listen through that. Fantastic stuff. Dance, magic dance.
Dance, magic dance. It took me a while to get into David Bowie. Like, I didn't really get... Like, he was huge when I was little. Like, it was Let's Dance and all that kind of stuff. But it was a little too weird, a little too scary for me as a little kid. But when I was in high school, then I started, getting into David Bowie and stuff. But this definitely counted against it because, like, he's so weird.
It's so scary in this.
He's great in this, and I appreciate him now. But as a kid, I was like, I don't know about.
Dude, this movie scared the crap.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that he's taking like a little he's like, give me this kid or
yeah, stealing a baby. He's the Goblin King. There's the one scene in this where she's like at this ball, this costume ball or whatever, and she's wearing a dress and stuff, and then she runs, and then she gets close to like the edge of this sphere that she's inside, and she sees herself. Like, I always thought that was in Krull. Like, in my memory, it's like that's a scene from Krull. Like, she's trapped, but it's not. Like, when I was watching this, I was like, oh, that's that scene I thought was from Krull.
This has a very it's a Krull-sover.
Well, yeah, I mean, this movie is like young Tommy. Like when I was a kid. This is like this is what I was looking for from movies.
Heck yeah.
And I used to like make little like games and scenarios that would be like cut from this same cloth. Like definitely influenced by this, and even sort of before this, I was just fascinated with labyrinths.
Yes.
I was fascinated with the word labyrinth. I was fascinated with like the story of Theseus and the Minotaur and all that kind of stuff. And then this kind of like sort of like video game, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy adventure game kind of world, where it's all made up of puzzles and things. You have to, like an Infocom game or something like that. This movie plugged right into that, for me. And I was kind of shocked to realize this movie bombed. Like, I thought this was a huge hit. But again, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it a million times on VHS. We owned the VHS.
Same here.
But
scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I loved it. Watched it a million times. I didn't realize it was a bomb. But it's like, I think it's just like the generation that this was made for were not old enough to be the decision makers of what movie you're going to go see.
It's the same thing we talked about before, where I didn't I'm not realizing anything's like same with Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
like the Ewok situation.
Right, you didn't know there was pushback of the Ewoks. But yeah, that this Jim Henson's son said that like his dad was in director jail after this.
I was going to say, yeah, Jim Henson behind the camera, but I can't think of it. I don't think he directed another like theatrical.
Well, I mean, yeah, he didn't live too many. He probably lived like another 6 years or something after this. But yeah, he was in director's jail, and it was rough on him.
They shot this as like New York State, I think. Mm-hmm. But then you're right about the Krull crossover too. Like all the Labyrinth stuff, I think was shot in the UK on like the stage there.
Terry Jones from
Monty Python
like wrote the script.
That's
which is
awesome.
Really interesting. Like it makes a lot of sense realizing that, just all that kind of
imagination.
All the crazy fantasy and absurdism, but then the fantasy, like the aesthetic, it was like this very specifically kind of like late 70s, early 80s fantasy aesthetic. And they also kind of like bled into like fine art a little bit and stuff too. Like they said there was like a specific artist who they were thinking of for this and who ended up doing a lot of the concept drawings and things.
That's awesome.
But like it was like there'd be these guys who you'd buy like fine art prints of like their weird medieval fantasy kind of whimsical art and stuff. It's like so much a snapshot of a point in time, but it's like this is what I wanted out of movies. This is kind of what I still want from just these like inventive kind of fantasy worlds. And
Jim Henson Creature Shop firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and Jim Henson, like, one of the things with his career, it's like the Muppets were so huge. That's all, and his name was so associated with the Muppets, it's all anybody wanted from him. And he wanted, like, the Muppets were just kind of the beginning for him. He wanted to make these kind of primal visual fantasies, much like, you know, George Lucas was making, you know, with like the Star Wars movies and stuff. He wanted to make those. There's like a Labyrinth game. He wanted to make those kind of fantasies, and it's just like the audience, the public, the media, like reviewers didn't want that from him. You know, like they wanted
Muppets.
They wanted more Muppets, and it's so like Dark Crystal came, and like I loved that as a kid.
So good.
This, and it's like, no, we want Muppets. Give us more Muppets. Did Muppets Take Manhattan come after this or before this?
But 84.
84.
Muppets,
Okay, so it's a little before this. This is what, 85, 86?
86.
I saw a Judge Dredd comic on her bookcase. Like, I loved it when I was a kid. Watched it a million times. I tried to design my own little games and worlds, like after that, you know, with like the puzzles and stuff, and labyrinths with like optical illusions. But like watching it again recently, I'm like, this is one of the greatest movies ever made.
It's so fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, what's scared me is the scenes coming up too, where she's like, right when she says like,
yeah, she's like, I wish you would get taken away or whatever. Yeah.
And they're like,
man,
like peeking
they're all
out.
excited. Yeah, they're like excited. They're watching from somewhere, you know, wanting her to say the magic words she has to say. That freak, like that you could make your little brother disappear or something.
Or just like the part where after she says it, they're that's creepy there, but like,
yeah, those eyeballs.
They look like boglins.
Yeah, they do. I wonder if boglins were kind of modeled after these. The bog of eternal stench.
The slime beard. The fright zone. They're right there, but then when you look at them, they like go and hide.
So you're thinking they're like in the room with her or something? I always took it to be like they're off in their like sort of labyrinth dimension, watching this maybe through the mirror, maybe through something. You know.
Once she unleashes them, then they're like in the room. Then.
Right. Yeah. Once she says the magic word that allows evil to enter your life, and you know because her wish is like an evil wish, like she's having a hard time. She's angry, you know, frustrated for a variety of reasons, family dynamic, and just having a screaming baby that you have to be in charge of, and so she has a bad moment, and then allows like evil into their world.
I wish the goblins would take you away.
Henson is very deliberately trying to make like a new Wizard of Oz or a new Alice in Wonderland or like a new, and I think he succeeds. Like he does exactly that.
He did a great job, like helming this.
We're sort of in that like new romantic era of the 80s, so it's kind of a nice kind of segue into this pure fantasy to have like these sort of modern day fashions that are kind of like swashbuckly and fantasy inspired, and even the architecture of the house of this humdrum reality is still a little bit fantasy inspired and stuff. So then you know the transition is sort of seamless. You know, she's got that cool like backyard or park that she's at that looks
so awesome with the bridges in it and stuff.
This is kind of like a Python touch or whatever, but like when she's first enters the labyrinth and then she's going to go this way and then the little worm is like, don't go that way, go the other, go the other way. And then after she leaves, she's like, oh, if she'd gone that way, that would have led her straight to the castle. Like, I like that thing of like, she almost solved it immediately, like cut out all this, but you know, she got led down the wrong path. Yeah.
This is the scary scene for me when I was little coming up here.
Yeah, it's the setup is very scary. Yeah, again, like this movie was creepy, and I think that contributes to the allure of it. Like when you're a kid, and David Bowie's extra creepy, weird eyebrows,
bouffant hairdo. Also,
big bulge in
I
his
was
pants.
literally about to say that. We're 2 for 2 on super overly tight.
And this is kind of coming out around the same time as like Gremlins and Ghoulies and all that kind of stuff. And there's all these little creeps in her house. And then there's
like right there when they go behind like this dance magic dance. There's a garter snake inside my pants. He's like,
it's me. Did you ever watch Flight of the Conchords? There's like an episode where Jermaine Clement plays plays Jareth. He plays David Bowie from Labyrinth. It's me, David Bowie from Labyrinth. Got that hair, that owl hair.
Like one scene or a couple episodes, but I can't remember.
I love that show, but the David Bowie episode's one of my favorites.
Dance some magic dance.
And he like walks on the wall and stuff like. I remember the commercials for this movie too, and like the part where he's like walking up the wall and then it goes. Like he's like underneath her and then goes, takes a step and is like right with
Oh, what a feeling cool. When you're dancing on the ceiling.
You remind me of the babe with the power. Like I always thought of that. Oh, this part here, he's going like this and keeping the crystal ball in his hand. I think what we're seeing here, I think like David Bowie is standing here, and then below him is some kind of like expert with some kind of acrobat or somebody who's like a specialist with like gloves, kind of like below
right
him, kind of like there to make it look like those are his hands doing that.
That's brilliant. I like old school like tricks, trick of the eye.
That's it's basically a puppet movie, so you're gonna have a lot of it. Everybody wanted to work with Jim Henson, like and when you see kind of these matte paintings and stuff, but everybody wanted to work with Jim Henson, and that was always kind of the beauty of like the Muppet stuff, is that there'd be the weird little Muppet world, and then there'd be some like super famous person that's kind of like, hey, and so, for David Bowie, it's like, oh, I want to be with the Muppets.
They're like, they're the only stars bigger than David is Kermit the Frog.
Right. I mean, this is a great movie, and it is a shame that it was not hailed as the masterpiece that it is. And it's it's a shame that Jim Henson didn't get like an enormous like pat on the back after that, and that David Bowie wasn't like, oh, I did. When are we filming Labyrinth 2?
Jareth.
Because it is like it was kind of like a little bit of a golden age, because you'd have like Never Ending Story, you'd have this like just this little burst of like these like visual fantasies, and then they kind of went away for a while. Like as we got into the late 80s, it like cinema just became kind of like less fun
exciting
for a little while. It was kind of like a dead period for a little bit from like around 87 and onward. It kind of
nothing like this is just so special.
And as a kid seeing movies, that's great in a Muppet movie. There's somebody taking a piss in a Muppet movie. But that's to let you know, hey, we're not doing the Muppets here. I'm Jim Henson. I'm not Mr. Muppet.
He's not the dribbler.
Yeah, and he's like killing these little fairies with his.
That was always sad.
Yeah, but they are nasty. They will bite you.
He's kicking them. What if so David Bowie's Jareth, there's like Subway has a new mascot, Jared.
Yeah, he
it's
takes
Jared Fogle.
Yeah,
with that wig with the hair. Jared.
It like as a kid, I really thought this is what movies were gonna be. Like I thought, like, oh yeah, this is what it's like. You watch a Barbarian movie, you watch a Labyrinth, you watch a
RoboCop.
There's going to be a Star Wars every year or whatever, and then it dried up. Kind of the era we're living in now is kind of like the continuation of this. Where we see stuff like Avatar 2 and
Remember we were saying like we thought it was going to be that way forever.
Mm-hmm. But I guess it's like enough of the people who like grew up with movies like this are now making them. But this Labyrinth, like just the world of it is just so much fun. This Labyrinth and the Goblin City at the core. Those scenes within the Goblin City are so much fun.
Incredible.
Too, because it's a practical set. It's this little and there's all these like little gadgets and gimmicks and things.
We saw that game she had in her room.
Mm-hmm.
I had like when we were little, you talked about like the Minotaur and stuff.
Yeah.
Loved that, and we had a similar Labyrinth game like that. It was wooden, but it was like you put a little
a marble
in, and you turn the different knobs.
Mm-hmm. Try to navigate it through.
And I was like, I was always thinking about Labyrinth while playing that.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I was into like Theseus and the Minotaur, like all that like mythology stuff, and then there was like a text adventure that I played called Madness and the Minotaur, where you're playing like
awesome.
Labyrinth. And then there was like a book. It was kind of like a choose your own adventure, and it was something with like a minotaur or something in it, and you're exploring this like crazy labyrinth, and then there's like a guy in it where it's like you have to like to solve this one part of the choose your own adventure. It wasn't choose your own adventure. It was like one of those other, like an off-brand choose your own adventure. But to solve, like, it's the guy who is the master of the labyrinth. Basically like Jareth or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you have to guess my name, and the clue was that my name is in the middle of the labyrinth. And it's like, oh, what is it? And his name was Byron. It was Byrin, like the middle of the word labyrinth. And
that's
so I like to remember that.
awesome.
I forget what that was. I'll have to look it up, or maybe somebody will say in the notes what that book was. And then there was also, so that was more like a kid's book, like choose your own, those the plant with the eyeballs. Like, this is also coming out of like the Dungeons and Dragons era.
Oh,
too. This
yeah.
is all like Dungeons and Dragons-y kind of stuff. That like sort of turning these fantasy worlds into like a game environment. But there was also like these books. I forget, it might even be the artist that like designed this stuff, but it would be these like big, thick, hardbound books where the book itself was a labyrinth, and you'd open it up, and then you'd open it up to the first page, and then there'd be all these doors, and each door was labeled with like a number, and then you'd like that would be the page that you would turn to get to the and there was like a prize involved too. If you can like solve the labyrinth and tell them like which order you took, so they can verify that you really did it. Like, there was some kind of money prize or something you could win if you were like among the first to like turn that in.
That's
so like
cool
this
as
was
hell.
yeah. And then there was also like this board game is like still around, and now there's like Super Mario versions and stuff. But there was this Labyrinth board game. I don't know if you ever played it, but it's got all these like sliding parts. So you're like working your way through this labyrinth to get all these like weird treasures and stuff. But then like you can also like slide pieces of the labyrinth, so it's like
cool.
constantly changing and moving.
I can't remember if in Hero Quest or Battle Masters.
We still have to do an episode where we play Battle Masters.
Oh yeah, and
been
what
talking
about Hero Quest too?
Yeah, Hero Quest. Yeah,
love Hero Quest.
I love that little wormy guy with like the scarf. Hello, don't go there.
Go that way.
And the optical illusion part of this is really cool. How it's like the entrance to the labyrinth is like right there. You just it's covered up, and then I feel like George Lucas was taking it for
Indiana Jones
and the Last Crusade.
Isn't he like a producer on this?
Is he? That makes sense. But like that was another thing. It was like Jim Henson wanted to make the kind of movies George Lucas was making, but then you see like Return of the Jedi, and Return of the Jedi has actual Muppets in it.
Yeah.
Like he actually uses Henson. So it's like George Lucas wanted to make Muppet movies, and Jim Henson wanted to make Star Wars movies.
What if Jim Henson did a more serious? Wouldn't that
like that's kind of how he spent like the remainder of his career? Like he, Dark Crystal, pretty serious. This is pretty serious, and then he did that TV series. It was like the Jim Henson Show, and it was kind of like One for You, One for Me. He would have these sort of like Muppet style kind of sequences, but then at the end he would do a thing called the Storyteller, where it would be like the story of the Minotaur and stuff like that. He would do this like high fantasy Tolkien-esque kind of stuff.
Last Crusade throws some like sand on the bridge.
I remember the first time I saw that scene being like blown away.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, and like when you see that shot where it like tilts and you're like, whoa. Imagine that in 3D. I guess that wouldn't work in 3D because you'd see the illusion. I also like the idea of this labyrinth. It's like this fickle thing. Like it's working against you. Like it's bad enough that you have to like actually get through this maze, but the maze is actually kind of like malevolent and
it's
trying
out
to
to
trip
get
you up. Yeah.
This is great. All these creatures like around.
This poor kid, this poor like real baby who has to be in this room with these nightmarish demon creatures.
I was thinking about that. I was like, when he's sitting there, somebody has to be off screen like, look at me.
Yeah. You hear about the Nirvana baby, and so like we got to interview the baby from Labyrinth
baby.
And like ask him like what are you okay?
Nightmares?
Are you okay? You remind me of the babe. You remind me of the babe. The babe with the power. What power? The babe. Dance, magic dance.
I love the verses. The verse melodies might be actually my favorite.
Yeah, this is like solid Bowie stuff. Like this is good Bowie music.
It's so good
that you can put up against anything in his body of work. And also like they're probably thinking like this thing is gonna be such a hit because we got all this like fantasy and then we got like MTV kind of stuff going on and
what a great music video for it. The verses are killer. I know the hook.
and like David Bowie, it's like the full outline of his penis, the full outline of his testicles. The testicles are like differentiated. You can see like it's not just one mass. You can see okay, there's one.
You can actually see Duncan Jones.
Zowie Bowie.
You can see Duncan Jones in that shot, like a gleam.
Yeah, a gleam in his nutsack. Dance, magic dance.
Duncan, I remember when you were just a gleam in your father's nuts.
They don't like. It's like, oh, the audience doesn't want a combination of MTV and high fantasy. Like they were. But again, yeah, it's like this has gone on to become a classic. It's this is like we talked about it with Little Shop of Horrors. This is like before they figured out that like, oh yeah, the theatrical release isn't the end all be all. Like, yeah, okay, maybe it didn't do great in the theater, but
long tail.
Long tail.
Notes from like when they do they're like the test screen. They're like they get like a comment card back. It's like a little less Bowie dick or whatever, or Bowie codpiece.
Yeah. While you're waiting, 2 decades for the Lord of the Rings movies to come out, this is what kind of holds you over is stuff like this. Yeah, and then he starts throwing the baby in the air. That is Duncan Jones. No, that baby is Duncan Jones. And then, he's throwing this doll in the air.
We check in on that baby there, like, what's he...
Well, yeah, because he's probably born in, like, 83 or something. So, yeah, he's almost 40. He's, like, 39 now.
We have him, Danny. It's what do we call round table? It's like Danny Cooksey.
Danny Cooksey, him, Gabe Kaplan, Tom Cruise. Why not shoot for the stars? This part I always liked, these weird guys. And then, when she's in that pit with, like, all the hands, that's scary.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, like, really just one kind of cool fantasy idea after another.
This is a great flick.
Yeah, I love it. It's a classic. It is one of the greats. There's just some movies you watch and you're like, man, there's nothing like this.
Yeah, concocted in the mind of Terry Jones, Jim Henson, George Lucas is involved. What a lineup.
Another thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is like, the business, like how movies do or whatever. But like with art, it's like the thing you created is what lives on forever. So like, it's like, who cares if this thing was like a hit in the theater or not? It's like, you can watch this movie in 2023 and be like caught up in it, blown away by it, like
timeless.
That's what matters. That's the life this stuff has.
Just genius stuff. And I can't remember, this might be Jennifer Connelly's debut, I think. Maybe.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, she's pretty young in it. I was a kid watching this, so I imagine Jennifer Connelly being like super old in this. But it's like, watching it now, it's like, she's just a kid.
That's all scary.
Hands,
like
and they make
stuff.
faces and they talk. Yeah, they're like all green. Yeah, it's kind of like the hand that comes out of the TV and video drone.
Oh my god! Yeah, what a great gag.
And they can send you up or send you down. I'm remembering, like, I used to make like Legos that were kind of based on Labyrinth. Like
awesome. That's cool.
Using the Lego castle stuff.
Oh, love that. We do like mazes too. Yeah, we made our own board game.
Okay, out of Lego.
Not out of Lego. We did like paper, like different levels and stuff.
Yeah. You're in the oubliette.
Dance, magic dance.
I learned the word oubliette from this movie. I guess Jim Henson never got out of director's jail. I guess so. Labyrinth, it's a classic. It's a great movie. You didn't need us to tell you that.
No,
it lives on.
We love to bring it up and talk about it.
I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli,
and you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at Cinema_2.
And please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and you'll be able to check out all kinds of cool stuff, different comics and things that I've been working on.
Follow the show on Instagram at total_recall_show.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you in the Labyrinth.